What if some animals we believe are extinct are not actually gone? Think about it. Our planet still has massive forests, deep swamps, and remote mountains that humans have barely explored. Even today, scientists discover new species every year. So the real question is, how can we be completely sure that some ancient creatures didn't survive somewhere far from civilization? Today, we're exploring 7 extinct animals that some people believe might still be alive. Let's dive in. First up is the Megatherium, a creature that looked like something straight out of a prehistoric nightmare. Imagine a giant ground sloth the size of an elephant. This massive animal could grow nearly 20 feet long and weigh more than 8,000 pounds. Millions of years ago, it roamed across South America, using its enormous claws to pull down tree branches and feed on leaves. Scientists believe Megatherium disappeared around 10,000 years ago, likely due to climate change and human hunting. But here's where things get interesting. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, some indigenous tribes tell stories about a mysterious creature called the Mapinguari. According to eyewitness descriptions, it's a huge animal that sometimes walks on 2 legs, knocks down trees, flips canoes, and releases terrifying growls that echo through the jungle. And strangely, those descriptions sound very similar to what scientists think Megatherium looked like. Over the years, several expeditions in the Amazon have reported strange footprints, broken trees, and eerie noises deep within the forest. Of course, there's still no solid proof, but the Amazon is one of the least explored places on Earth. Entire regions remain untouched by humans. So the question remains, is Megatherium truly extinct, or could something enormous still be moving quietly through the shadows of the rainforest? Next, we move from the ground to the sky. Meet the pterosaur. Despite what many people think, pterosaurs were not dinosaurs. They were a completely different group of flying reptiles that lived alongside them millions of years ago. And some of them were absolutely massive. The largest species had wingspans over 35 feet, about the width of a small airplane. Their bodies were lightweight with hollow bones, and their wings were made of thin skin stretched between an extremely long finger and their sides. Some had sharp teeth for catching fish, while others hunted small animals on land. Officially, pterosaurs vanished during the mass extinction 66 million years ago. But strange sightings keep appearing. In Papua New Guinea, locals speak of a flying creature known as the ropin. Witnesses describe a large winged animal with a long beak, a crest on its head, and sometimes even a glowing tail seen at night. Meanwhile, in parts of Texas and Arizona, people have reported seeing enormous birds with leathery wings gliding silently across the sky. Some reports even claim these creatures attacked livestock. Now, are these sightings real or simply misidentified birds? No one knows for sure. But the idea that a prehistoric flying reptile might still exist somewhere in the world continues to fascinate scientists and explorers alike. And the next creature on our list may be one of the most believable survival stories of all. The moa. The moa was a giant flightless bird that once lived in New Zealand. And when we say giant, we mean giant. Some species stood nearly 12 feet tall, making them among the tallest birds to ever walk the earth. These birds had long necks, powerful legs for running, and surprisingly, no wings at all, not even tiny ones. They spent their lives roaming forests and feeding on leaves, fruits, and branches. For thousands of years, the moa thrived in New Zealand with almost no natural predators, except one terrifying hunter known as Haast's eagle, one of the largest birds of prey in history. But eventually, humans arrived. Around the year 1300, Polynesian settlers known as the Maori began hunting moa for food and using their bones for tools. Within just a few centuries, the giant birds disappeared. Or at least that's what scientists believed. Since the early 1900s, hikers, hunters, and farmers have occasionally reported seeing large, wingless birds disappearing into remote forests on New Zealand's South Island. Some have even claimed to find massive bird tracks deep in the wilderness. New Zealand still contains huge areas of rugged terrain and dense forest that are rarely visited by humans. So among extinct animals, the moa is often considered one of the most plausible candidates for survival. Now let's talk about one of the most famous legendary creatures in the world, The mysterious Mokele-Mbembe. This creature is said to live deep within the Congo River basin in Central Africa. The name comes from the Lingala language and roughly translates to the one who stops the flow of rivers. According to local legends, this creature resembles a huge reptile with a long neck, bulky body, and a tail, something that looks remarkably similar to a sauropod dinosaur like Diplodocus. Some descriptions claim it can grow up to 30 feet long. The first written reports about Mokele-Mbembe appeared in the early 1900s when European explorers documented stories from local tribes who claimed the creature lived in remote swamps. Some witnesses even described seeing it cross rivers, creating massive waves in the water. Over the last century, multiple expeditions have traveled into the Congo jungle hoping to find evidence. But despite all the searches, no physical proof has ever been discovered. Scientists believe the sightings may simply be hippos, large monitor lizards, or misunderstood local wildlife. Still, the Congo rainforest is one of the least explored ecosystems on Earth, and its dense swamps could easily hide something unusual. Now let's move to a creature almost everyone knows. The mammoths. These giant relatives of modern elephants once roamed across vast areas of North America, Europe, and Asia. Covered in thick fur and armed with massive curved tusks that could grow over 16 feet long, mammoths were perfectly adapted for the icy conditions of the Ice Age. Most mammoths disappeared around 10,000 years ago. But here's a surprising fact. A small population survived on Rangel Island until about 4,000 years ago, meaning mammoths were still alive while the pyramids of Egypt were being built. Because many mammoths were preserved in frozen Siberian permafrost, scientists have recovered incredibly well-preserved remains, including skin, fur, and even DNA. Today, researchers are working on an ambitious project to revive mammoth traits using Asian elephant DNA, potentially creating a cold-adapted hybrid species. Some enthusiasts even believe small groups of mammoths might still survive in remote parts of Siberia. There have been occasional reports from hunters and explorers describing large, hairy animals moving across distant tundras. None of these sightings have ever been confirmed, but the possibility is still fascinating. Next comes one of the most terrifying reptiles to ever live on land. Megalania. This creature was essentially a giant version of today's Komodo dragon. Living in Australia around 50,000 years ago, Megalania could grow over 20 feet long and weigh more than 1,000 pounds, making it the largest known land lizard in history. Its scientific name, Varanus priscus, shows that it was closely related to modern monitor lizards. Scientists believe Megalania hunted massive prehistoric animals, using ambush attacks and powerful bites. Some researchers even think it may have had venom similar to modern Komodo dragons. Interestingly, some Aboriginal legends describe giant reptile-like creatures roaming the land. And in the 1970s, a few reports from rural Australia described enormous reptiles disappearing into the bush. While these sightings remain unconfirmed, the vast and remote Australian outback still contains areas rarely explored by humans. And finally, we come to our last mysterious creature, the Nandi bear. This strange animal is said to live in parts of Kenya and Uganda. Witnesses describe it as a powerful, muscular creature with thick fur, something that looks like a mix between a bear, a hyena, and a big cat. Here's the strange part. There are no native bear species in Africa, yet since the early 1900s, explorers, colonists, and local tribes have reported seeing this mysterious animal roaming at night. Some researchers think it could be a surviving species of giant prehistoric hyena, while others believe it might simply be an unusual mutation of a known predator. Reports often include livestock attacks, massive tracks, and deep growling sounds in the night. So what exactly is the Nandi bear? A misidentified animal, an undiscovered species, or something that science simply hasn't explained yet? Because when it comes to our planet's wildest places, there are still mysteries waiting in the dark.